So 5-7 is a popular pick. I think if you look at the schedule, 5-7 is realistic. I always myself have found that like what my heart says when I look at it, I always deduct at least one loss.
Big Blue Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Bluegrass Breakdown. Today we have a very special episode. It's the football special. We're joined by two very special guests. Guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
You got it, Tristan.
Hey guys, it's Tristan. And then I think we got Lane, Izzy, and Kyle in here.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Well, we got to have a conversation about the record. First of all, I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I need everyone's official record for the year and maybe like a good upset loss that you feel down deep in your soul. Like, oh, yeah, they can get that one. You can go ahead and go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have any I don't have any upset. I mean, my upset would be like if we beat a ranked Vandy.
Okay.
That would be my upset. So that puts us at 4-8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would put us at 4-8. So that's me, 4-8, and with a perchance beating Vandy.
I'm going 5-7, beating Texas. I'm just kidding. No,
that's crazy.
I truly believe if you want to call it an upset, I'm not believing in Auburn at all this year. And I feel like that's maybe one you'd chalk up on as an automatic loss or whatever. But I don't know. I do not believe in the quarterback play at Auburn. I don't even want to say his name. Just being a Sooners fan, I know how bad that guy is at quarterback. And if he's starting, Jackson Arnold starting week 1, then go ahead and just give – I know they don't play week 1, but whatever.
Yeah.
Just give Kentucky that Auburn win.
Yeah, I'm also in the 5-7 boat. I think we'll be a little better than we were last year, only because I think Calzada is, I mean, assuming he plays, is a little bit more cogent at QB than Vandegrift was. As far as upsets go, I'm not sure we'll get any. If we get one, I want to go somewhat exciting and say Ole Miss in week 2. I think it'd be cool to beat Toledo, come back out, start 2-0, and beat them for the second year in a row. So that'll be the pick. I'm not dying by it, but that's what I'm going to go, 5-7 and Ole Miss.
I think you guys are too optimistic.
Yeah. What are you thinking, Tristan?
I know so 5-7 is a popular pick. I think if you look at the schedule, 5-7 is realistic. I always myself have found that like what my heart says when I look at it, I always deduct at least one loss. So I'm at like 3.5. That's my line.
Man,
my heart says like 5-7, so I'm gonna go 4-8. Upset wise, I mean, it's gonna be hard for them to steal anything. I just take care of the business, like with Toledo, Eastern Michigan, Tennessee Tech, and then you got to beat Vandy. You can't lose to them 3 times in 4 years. So if you take care of those 4, you got to be somewhat happy with just not having a surprising loss.
I think
I think
if Vanderbilt somehow beats Kentucky this year, which they probably will, I'm just going to say they probably will. I think Kentucky football becomes the laughingstock of the SEC finally, and Vanderbilt's taking that next step up as someone who always, is taking. I don't know. They used to always be the underdog. Vandy always sucked, and they always lose. And now
here they are.
Yeah, now here they are all of a sudden.
You got Pavia just calling national championships all of a sudden. Like,
yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
He has high hope.
He's a dog. He's like that.
He has high hope.
Anchor down, I guess, dude.
I seen he's in a Hispanic music video the other day. I mean, he's just living it up in Nashville.
He thinks he's the guy, I guess. Little Heisman season loading for Diego.
Okay, buddy.
Okay.
Vandy's gonna win like a smooth 6 games max. So I don't know.
All right.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
We got to talk about Kentucky's quarterback because Mark Stoops confirmed with the media that Cutter Boley and Zach Calzada are competing for a spot, and gosh, that's embarrassing for me.
We talked about this last week on this podcast, man.
Yeah, it was like Calzada. It would be disrespectful if Calzada didn't start, but now it feels almost up for grabs after week 1. I think Calzada will probably get the nod, but after that, say he has a bad game against Toledo, it could be anybody's start. Lane, Tristan, I want to get your all's opinions on that, just from a standpoint of you have a guy who's played football for 7 years for a guy who's played in 2 games of college ever competing for a starting spot. So how do you all process that when you hear it?
I don't love it. It doesn't give me a lot of confidence in the quarterback position, at least starting wise. I know some people have said like, "Oh, this is the best duo Kentucky's had." Well, if the gap between your starter and backup is, it's not great.
Yeah.
I think you got to go with Calzada, just to start, just because he has so much experience. I think he's kind of come in there and become the inherent leader, kind of. I think this team had 50 new players, something like that. So I think that's what people are viewing him as. Now, I think Cutter Boley has the higher ceiling. So it just kind of, if you're Mark Stoops, this is the kind of a make it or break it year. And so it's going to be on him. So do you go with the higher ceiling guy? I think that's Cutter. Or do you try to go with experience and just run it down people's throats?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, it feels like smoke and mirrors. I don't think you bring a 7-year guy in unless you're planning on starting him. I think that was probably a stipulation for him coming on in the first place. I like Bully, like Tristan said. I think he's got a high ceiling. What we saw at Texas last year was really interesting, but what we saw against Louisville at home was not so interesting. And that was the more recent output. So I think it's got to be Calzada, for better or worse. You don't bring a guy like that in with so much experience just to sit him behind your 2nd-year guy. So
Yeah, and
I
that's
think at least for a
exactly.
while we'll see Calzada.
Yeah, and that's literally exactly what we were saying last week.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not crazy for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think we'll transition into the wide receiver core just because I think if you put Cutter in now, maybe you don't have those advanced reads, or maybe like the speed of the game won't be the same. Especially, I look at Barryon and Dane Key leaving, and I was thinking today, like, Kentucky really wasted their prime years just because of poor quarterback play. And I feel like we saw flashes from them. Like Dane Key had, I believe, 4 games of 100 yards in a row, and that was with Vandergrift. So I could imagine
Yeah.
if he had someone with a little bit of competency back there. And then you have Barryon, who's one of the greatest returners we've seen in not Kentucky history, but SEC history, and he's still that big play wide receiver. I feel like it's going to be a thing where you see him at LSU going off, and everyone's going to be like, well, he used to be a Wildcat.
Yeah.
And
especially with, like, a real quarterback,
right,
with Garrett Nussmeier back there.
And when I really look at it, Bush has said that there's not a true wide receiver one, and it kind of like baffles me because Kendrick Law is so like clearly miles ahead of everybody in my opinion, and he's obviously playing from Alabama. So guys, I want to get your opinions on the wide receiver core as a whole. Apparently there's not a true number one guy. Do you think it's even fit for a mold to make Calzada look good, or is Calzada going to have to really make the plays and make them look good?
Bush does that a lot. Hamdan did it with the quarterbacks too last year, where he wants to play like 3 different ones, excuse me, at the same time. I think it's a similar situation. There probably is an outlier, and I think it'll stand out pretty early. Again, I think it's more just like, oh, we don't know. We've got so much going on here. We're gonna see who stands out. No, I'm worried about the wide receiver core. I mean, you lose 2 of maybe the most recognizable receivers Kentucky's had this side of 2020, just because you couldn't figure out how to get a good quarterback out there to throw to him. We circled through 3 guys last year, and not on one of them could figure out how to get these guys the ball on a consistent basis. So what we're left with, I hate to say it, is pretty much the aftermath of the leftovers of that situation. Not that there isn't talent there, not that there isn't potential, not that somebody couldn't break out. I just, from my end right now, I don't see it happening.
Jamori Macklin had single-digit receptions last year. I have no faith that this receiving core is going to produce to the level that people hope. And he's supposed to be wide receiver 1 if you look at the depth chart. So props to him for coming back. He got a decent paycheck to do that. I think Colin Lane said there's going to be an outlier. Somebody's going to stand out. I know Hardly Gilmore, a guy that got dismissed from the team, you bring him back. You don't do that unless you kind of need the talent. So I think that kind of says a lot. I mean, Bush Hamden, he didn't inspire a lot of confidence at football media days. Probably one of the most boring press conferences I've ever heard.
We were all there.
Yeah.
And I think when they asked about the wide receiver room, he's like, yeah, there's a bunch of guys. Like, it's a wide receiver core. You got to have scholarships. But we'll see. I hope that Hamden's got a guy in Calzada that he is more confident in and than he was with Vandergrift, and he's got Cutter Boley that's a year older. So maybe just familiarity. He can kind of get. He's had Macklin in the system. He's had Hardly Gilmore. He can get those guys some touches, and he's got a team that kind of he had more of a hand of building. So that's the hope. But it's just a lot of hope.
Yeah, I think all signs kind of point to the big blue wall being reinstated. I think, Izzy, you want to touch on that with your running backs, but you got 6 guys who are 6'7" to 6'8" and over 300 pounds. You have some monsters on this offensive line.
Yeah, you look at that offensive line. I mean, I'm gonna pull up the story that we had not long ago, but
Shayaza, baby.
Yeah, Shiaz Pete is like, I mean, we were standing in front of him at media day, and it's like
there was a shadow casted on me. From
yeah,
the
you
sun.
look straight, you're looking at his belly button. It's like, holy moly, this guy's huge. So, once you finally bend your neck all the way back up, you start talking to him. He's a real nice guy. He's like an everyday normal dude. And then you go out there on the football field and see what he does.
Oh, he's
and
mean.
he's mean and it's aggressive. So I think that, this whole offensive line, and you heard Stoops talk about it. He thinks that they're going to be great this year, but, of course he has a lot of confidence. But this whole idea of the big blue wall finally coming back is probably, at the best chances of being true now than it has been in a while.
Fair. And I know I believe so much in all these running backs. You have Seth McClelland, Dante Dowdell, and Patterson and Wilcox being your third and fourth stringers, who I really believe could start right now if they wanted to. I think that's how talented they are. Tristan Lane, who do you believe in the run game? Do you think that's the bread and butter? You think Kentucky should just go back to that and trust in maybe a more screen RPO type of style offense where 3rd and 2 is the only time you'd ever think about throwing the ball?
I think that's what you got to go with. You got to Stoops built this roster to his strengths that provided some of the best results Kentucky football wise we've ever had. So that's got to be promising. It's not going to be the most fun style to watch. You're not going to see a lot of big plays. I think you talked about Calzada. He mentioned throwing some play action passes. So you're gonna have to do a lot of running to kind of get those type of opportunities to throw those downfield. And you talked about like 1 through 4, that running back room's deep. You just you got to hope that everybody stays healthy. And I think that's even more so on the offensive line. Shiaz Pete, as big as he is, you got Joshua Braun, who was a former all SEC caliber offensive lineman. So, I mean, it's there. You just got to hope you can take opportunity and take advantage of it.
Yeah, run the daggone ball. I'm in the same boat. As someone who, as a football fan, I love to see, teams open it up and air it out a little bit. The best Kentucky football seasons have been run heavy. This roster is built around that. If I can give Stoops any credit, it's that I think he finally understands that a little bit. And he's like, this is that make or break year. Like I think Tristan said, he's going to have to kind of go back to his roots. I think we'll see 75-25, like run heavy offense. And if the wall is anything they're cracking it up to be, we could maybe start playing spoiler a little bit and sticking to our guns. I don't think we'll get any crazy wins, but sometimes a team can come in the Kroger Field and we can catch them off guard by just running the ball 100 times. So that's kind of what I think the trend for the season is looking like. And if we're going to find any success, I think consistently it's there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I also agree with what Tristan was saying, that if the room stays healthy and we can keep that depth there, then, realistically, you can run a guy for, 2 plays, take him out, run another guy for 2 plays, take him out, run another guy for 2 plays. I mean, heck, you can run them all the way down the field, on like a 75-yard drive if you got, 4 running backs that you can just keep rotating in there who are going to have the same production. It sounds crazy, but it'd be kind of cool.
Well, we got a lot of hope offensively, but defensively, I think we have something we can depend on with Brad White. Maybe the personnel isn't there. Obviously, there's some outliers. Like I look at David Gusta and JQ. I mean, I believe in their development and those guys being like monsters this year. But if the personnel isn't necessarily there, I still believe that Brad White can put up a good scheme no matter who's out on the field. So, guys, I want to ask you, do you think with the lack of offense, do you think the defense is still dependable enough to get a couple 3-and-outs, give some opportunities for the offense and not, letting up some crazy 30-point blowout?
I mean, I think Brad White's probably the most, dependable is a good word, personnel, staff right now that I feel like I could rely on to at least give the same consistent product over and over again. And I think with the offense getting a little better, the defense should have a little more room to breathe. So I look for them to be similar to where like you can expect them to come up with a stop when you need it now and again. Shouldn't have to worry as badly about them falling apart like you might the offense. So that's why I just think we'll be a tick better this year. Like I think the defense is going to come back, be similar, and the offense will just be that much better, one win better, I guess. So yeah, if anything, I have confidence in. I think consistently it's probably Brad White's defense.
As boring as Bush Hamden was, Brad White had us ready to run through a brick wall. He had the motivation levels at peak. But yeah, Brad White, if you're just talking about the defense, he's been pretty consistent here at Kentucky. The last year was pretty much an outlier. He had the talent there, but obviously when your first round projected draft pick just doesn't give forth the effort, your defense isn't going to be as good as it could have been. So I think this year, I think it'll be a little bit more of a team effort. You're not going to have those superstars that you kind of had last year with Maxwell Harrison and Deion Walker, but I think there's some pieces that he really likes. I think my biggest concern is linebacker depth. You just got to make sure those in SEC, one injury, a couple injuries can just turn a season around. And it's just, I think this team has a lot of personnel that they fit on both sides of the ball. But one really bad injury of a key player could kind of change the projection of the game and when that strings up a season.
I completely agree because, I look at Alex Afari there at that linebacker position. Like, God forbid something happens to him. I don't see the run defense being as strong. I don't see the inside the middle pass coverage being as good. Outside of Afari, I don't know who most of these guys are. I haven't seen much of them. So it feels like that weak
Cam
side.
Olds is a good one, but
I mean, man, I agree, Tristan. I mean, there's no depth there.
Yeah.
I do, before y'all get off here, I want your why. What's Kentucky's why this season? Like, outside of the whole, like, we sucked last year, we got to be better. Is there a reason you think that deep down they're clinging to help them perform better this season?
Nobody wants to go 1-7 in the SEC. Like, it is crazy that Kentucky went 1-7 in the SEC last year, and their one win was an Ole Miss team that was in the running to make the playoff. I just think last season just went awry, kind of halfway. They lost confidence. So I think this year you got a group of guys, and just from the feeling of Media Day, which we were all there for, it just kind of felt different. Like, they kind of felt more together. They were having more fun. You've seen the controversial video of them jumping in the air. These guys just seem like they're better. Like, I'm not saying last year's team were just awful people, but these guys just seem like they're here for better reasons, and that the sense of togetherness is there, if that makes sense. And I think it may not equal to enough wins, especially as difficult this schedule is. But I think as the why, you just don't want to suck. You don't want to be the laughing stock of the SEC.
Yeah. Similar boat. I don't think that maybe there's a why for the whole team. I think a lot of the onus falls on Stoops this year. If anything, he's put this squad together. It's his like last cry to be like, I've still got some gas left in the tank. I can bring new things to this program. Because I think a lot of folks got tired. I know there was a lot of rumors in the offseason about some movement there. Nothing concrete, of course, but I think the why really just falls on him. And he's put this team together and tried to fire him up as this last like ditch effort to be like, we've still got something new to bring to Kroger Field. I'm not so sure, but I think that's the motivation for sure.
Hey, man, who knows?
Motivation.
That's the key word of the offseason,
man. I don't know.
Beautiful motivation, man. You gotta love it.
Yeah, man.
I do want to ask super quick, if we beat this dead horse again this time next year and we look at a coaching change, who should be the new coach of Kentucky? Is it John Gruden? Is it one of these big, Coach O maybe?
We were joking about this all in the group chat, but hey, man, it would be a lot more fun than what's going on right now.
It's John Summerall, man. I'll pay for the plane ticket to Tulane. I'll fly a helicopter down on that field, dude. Just get him over here. That's my pick, 100%.
Yeah, I'm going with John Summerall. Now, media-wise, a John Gruden pairing with Coach O, one coaches the offense, one coaches the defense. That would be
holy moly.
God, that would be so fun. I don't even
That'd
care
be
if
the
they went
best.
0-12, but that would just crack me up. But I think realistically, John Summerall, as long as Mitch Barnhart's here, I think John Summerall is the guy. He's a guy that played and coached here, so he understands the fan base. He understands the expectations. Like, Kentucky football has never been the premier SEC program, like Auburn, Alabama, some of those guys. So he understands 7, 8 wins is kind of what Kentucky is, and you can make a lot of people happy by doing that. And then maybe every once in a while pop that 9 or 10 win season. And I just think what he's done at Troy and Tulane, and had Troy ranked, had Tulane kind of in the playoff running as a group of 5 team. I think that's pretty impressive, and they're right there again this season.
I mean, yeah, we saw what Mark Pope did. I mean, maybe some people question the hiring when it first happened, but you have a homegrown guy, and he's flipped this program upside down in a year's time.
Yeah.
And, maybe that's something UK football needs. But we're going to wrap it up with that. Guys, thank you for watching and listening. Make sure to check us out, KY Insider, on literally everything: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, literally everything. Make sure to check out our our website, kyinsider.com. Great stories on there, very personal player stories. And make sure to tune in every Wednesday for brand new episodes.